Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Ministers, Honourable Leader of Opposition, and Honourable Members of Parliament. Before I actually deliver my statement, I just need to quickly say a few things about something that was just raised. Madam Speaker, with respect to squatters, I think what needs to be said is that one of the very reasons why we do have so many squatters is because of the shenanigans of the past. Madam Speaker, but because of the politics and the shenanigans of the past, because of the non-renewal of leases that occurred before. But, as we've said earlier, Madam Speaker, this government is taking care of the squatters. Whether it takes us a year or 2 years or 3 years, we will take care of the squatters, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, with respect to the river gravel extraction issue that was just raised by my friend, I'm aware of it. We have put a stop work notice on them, and I will give you a full report on Thursday with respect to that. And also, Madam Speaker, in defense of my fellow Minister Bala, if somebody wants to talk about roots, maybe they should remember that the tree that was born by the NFP no longer exists, Madam Speaker. That very tree is gone, Madam Speaker. That tree that was planted by 3 gentlemen is gone. Doesn't exist, Madam Speaker. That's the... And I should know, Madam Speaker, I should know. Madam Speaker, this statement is with respect to the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources. Madam Speaker, the Ministry, through the Department of Lands, is responsible for the effective and efficient administration, development and the management of all state lands. And one of the key roles of the Department is to carry out what is called cadastral surveys of leased state lands, including regularizations of informal settlements for issues of lease titles. In addition to these, Madam Speaker, cadastral surveys, the survey section is also responsible for controls for cadastral and topographic mapping, extensions and maintenance of existing trigonometrical survey network and triangulation, and also upgrading of the National Geodetic Datum Framework. Madam Speaker, the Geodetic Datum is a coordinate system and a set of reference points to locate places on Earth. And the datum is what allows applications like the GPS system to operate. And Fiji's the geodetic datum system is currently a little bit out of date when compared to international standards, and so it affects the accuracy of it. The Ministry, Madam Speaker, has therefore undertaken an initiative to upgrade the National Geodetic Framework in order to address the growing demand for more precise positioning frameworks. Now, the national framework is also essential for very effective decision-making. In addition, it is a vital underpinning infrastructure which is applied in the areas of national hazard and disaster management, sea level and climate change monitoring, sustainable management and development of earth resources, spatial data interoperability, land management, and also mapping and navigation by society at large every day. As Madam Speaker, as we speak, it has been used to try and locate the persons that have been gone adrift on a boat, which my fellow minister just mentioned. So it's something that's in use every day. Madam Speaker, the Ministry continues to deliver the initiatives of the Fiji First Government, which includes the regularization of the occupations of all squatters throughout Fiji, Madam Speaker. This month alone, the Honourable Prime Minister issued 21 approval notices to the Nauru and Koya informal settlers, which brings the number of approval notices issued so far to 238 in the Western, Central, Eastern and Northern divisions. In the next financial year, Madam Speaker, the Ministry is planning to issue an additional 126 approval notices in the respective divisions as follows. Within the Central Eastern Division, we're looking at about 39 approval notices for Wainandoi, informal settlement in Navua. For the Northern Division, there's 60 approval notices for informal settlements of Vitandram, Bodha, Valamusanga and Avua in Madhuata and Vanuatu. In the Western Division, 26 approval notices for Nangoro in Rakiraki and Waimari informal settlement in Rakiraki. Madam Speaker, I'd also like to highlight to this House that the Ministry is also progressing work on the renewal of the leases that have expired. and so far 788 leases have been renewed. These are the ones which do not have any complications in terms of estate administration issues. A bulk of the expired leases, Madam Speaker, that have not been renewed are basically due to two major reasons. And some of them are because the lessees have yet still to indicate in writing whether they would like to renew their leases or not as per the condition of their leases, or the lessees have actually passed away and there are pending complicated estate administration issues that the close families of the deceased lessees are still not able to resolve. However, the Ministry, Madam Speaker, is vigorously working towards renewing all expired leases by the end of the financial year, next financial year. Madam Speaker, furthermore, the Ministry of Land's contribution towards the government's Look North policy is currently progressing with the development of the Nayada subdivision, which includes the issuance of leases for the new Damodar City for Lambasa, FNU campus, a service station, and the creation of more commercial lots for development. And this will enable a whole lot of more job opportunities for the North and access to higher education for the people in the North. Madam Speaker, also, in my last statement, I had elaborated on the film production that had taken place in the Malolo Islands in Nandronga, and in particular the process that was undertaken to secure the consent for the waiver of the traditional fishing rights. I also briefed this Honourable House on the assessment of the compensation quantum for the loss of traditional fishing rights and the economic benefits that this film production brought to the local communities of Fiji and Fiji as a whole. Madam Speaker, I'm glad to bring to the attention of this House that foreign interests of film productions in Fiji continue to rise. And Madam Speaker, currently there are two series currently being shot on our shores. There's the French Survivor series presently being filmed at the Isawa Island Resort and Isawa Group, and Wrecked Season 2 at Nandiri Bay, Malomalo in Nandronga. These particular activities will no doubt contribute tremendously to our GDP and provide job opportunities, Madam Speaker, to all Fijians and small businesses, or small business opportunities for the locals. Currently, all the processes that I've alluded to earlier, Madam Speaker, have been executed and complied with before the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources issues letters of approval to these foreign film companies. Madam Speaker, having mentioned about the increasing demand of our foreshore for film productions, I'd also like to update this House on the mangrove management plan. This plan, and as I had mentioned earlier on, Madam Speaker, will become the first mangrove management policy that will govern the whole spectrum of foreshore development. And this proposed mangrove management plan will embrace the following areas. It will actually embrace mangrove loss. It will embrace carbon sequestration in the mangroves. It will embrace establishing the total area estimate of mangroves in Fiji, the rate of mangrove loss and the impacts of dredging, soil dumping on mangroves, Fiji forest policy and the role of the Ministry of Forests, the linking of mangroves management to the environmental impact assessment process and the regulation of developments on foreshore, and establishing means of mangrove ecosystem valuation to assist in the determination of fair compensation value for the loss of traditional fishing rights and ownership of the rights of the fishing grounds. Also, a description of the biodiversity mangrove offset as an option in decision making, monitoring of compliance to environment impact assessment conditions, mangrove and traditional fishing rights owners, and preparation plans for mangrove conversion and retention in urban areas. These are the areas that will be looked at, Madam Speaker. Working hard towards getting it completed as soon as possible. The current state is that it's actually sitting, as we speak now this week, we'll be having a meeting with the Solicitor General's office to see if we can finalize it. Madam Speaker, another role of the Ministry is to undertake all valuation works for the government, which includes valuation and negotiation of ground rentals for all state leases on Itoke land under the Itoke Lands Act. The valuation division of the Ministry, Madam Speaker, has taken a proactive role by identifying dormant leases. A total of 9 inactive leases are under a surrender process now for reversion to Itoke Land Trust Board and the landowning units. And this includes the Vanumbalavu Biofuel Project, the Wailotua Agricultural Station in Wainimbuka, Nuku Seismographic Station in Serua, the Bichulais Agricultural Station in Waindina, the Tangare Seismographic Station in Namosi, and the Nadao Seismographic Station in Wainimala, the Ovea Agricultural Quarters in Tailevu, the Nayala Agricultural Quarters, and Wainunu Seismic Station in Bua. Madam Speaker, we've also applied for renewal of 10 Itoke land leases to state lease after proper consultations with the occupants and official advice received from relevant ministries. And this includes the 3 cocoa cooperatives in the north, namely Kendra in Domatuki, Kumbuna in Sabsavu, and Singawe and Namoe Voivoi Bua. Madam Speaker, with the recent publicity on environmental impact of activities involving the mineral development sector, the Minerals Department has put in place measures to ensure environmental protection and sustainable development of our mineral resources. An environmental division has been set up and resourced with qualified staff specialized in the mining and mineral sector. The division undertakes inspection and monitoring to ensure that there are no breaches in regulations, and the department is also currently reviewing the Mining Act and mineral policy. Minerals development, Madam Speaker, is a sector that has a huge economic potential for Fiji. In terms of ensuring that these resources are developed sustainably, the Ministry recognizes the need to formulate a policy and upgrade operating procedures. With respect to the river gravel extraction management guidelines and the environmental management guidelines, there are 2 proposals that would be tabled in Cabinet to assist in managing and regulating this particular sector. Madam Speaker, the Department will also endeavour to conduct workshops in mining and the quarrying sector with landowners to enable them to have the necessary skills and be qualified at a certificate level to work within that particular sector. And I know this is something that may come up a little later, but Madam Speaker, with respect to the Vatukola situation, I will be speaking on it in a day's time, probably on Thursday. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Lands and Mineral Resources is committed fully to supporting the policies and initiatives of the Fiji First Government and will persevere to ensure sustainable development and management of the state's natural resources. The Ministry's agenda recognizes the lasting prosperity and our nation's ongoing well-being and comes through embracing every relevant stakeholder with all new and better ways of doing things so that we can secure a better future for the generations to come, Madam Speaker. And I thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'll call on the Leader of Opposition or the designate to speak in response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to acknowledge and thank the Honourable Minister for his ministerial statement. Madam Speaker, this is the third time in the last 2 sessions that a ministerial statement had been issued on these subjects. I don't blame the Honourable Minister because he had so many portfolios. If he spent enough time in the ministry, he would have had a better understanding of the technical and operational system of the Ministry of Lands. On the question of squatters, Madam Speaker, squatters represent a large number of voters, and no government had the political will to address this squatter problem.
Only Fiji First.
No. Fiji First, what Fiji First is doing is carrying out an easy way out of addressing the squatter problem. I want to reiterate what my fellow parliamentarian had said, that the quality of the subdivisions where these approval notices have been issued is very poor. They don't adhere to the town planning requirements because of the size of the lots, the sizes of the roads, and all the other requirements. All what they had, the government is promoting these issues of issuing these approval notices to squatters, but the thing is they never contributed any capital development on this settlement to increase the livelihood of the people that are living there. All what they do is issue them approval notice, but they continue to live in these squalid conditions. Madam Speaker, I would like to reiterate what I had said earlier in this House, that squatter, the regularizing of squatter occupants is encouraging more squatters squatting on state land all over the country. I say this, Madam Speaker, because there is a process of applying for a state lease. If the lot is identified and should be advertised, those that apply, the applications are properly scrutinized, that they do not have any other property or they have a regular income to be able to pay for the annual rent and build a decent home. Most of the squatters would definitely not meet the requirements of this lands department. And that's the very reason why they go and squat. They want to bypass the system because they know they don't qualify. And that is encouraging other people to go and squat. On the development and management of all state land, Madam Speaker, I want to reiterate again that the core function of the Ministry of Land is to administer all the state lands in the country. With the capability of the GIS system that within the ministry, it should be able to identify all the state lands and those that have been developed and leased and the vacant ones. They should pursue development programs for the vacant land so that the land could be developed for their highest and best use. This is done, Madam Speaker, with all the budget requirement. It will avoid people squatting on vacant land. That will avoid people to squat on vacant land. On the lease renewal, Madam Speaker, as you know, leases have a definite beginning and a definite ending. So, with the capability of the GIS system in the Lands Department, they should bring up all the files of leases that will expire in 2 to 1 year, so that it gives enough time for the workers to work on the process and also inspect the land for any breach of the lease conditions. So there is no reason at all for some of the leases to be not to be renewed on time. So the system is here, Madam Speaker, and all what has to be done is people to be trained to understand the system so that all these things are carried out properly. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Now call on the leader of the NFP or his designate to speak in response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the Minister for his statement, and let me just remind him at the outset that the NFP tree will always stand, come hell or high water, and one day you all might look to find refuge under that tree. Madam Speaker, I thank the Minister for at least looking at the issue of mangroves and forestry development by a concerted effort and a holistic approach to the whole mangrove and foreshore settlements. Madam Speaker, it is no secret that we have two types of squatter settlements. One is, as rightly observed, that the squatters who are there were forced into squatter settlements by non-renewal of leases of cane land. And Madam Speaker, the others are, and these people were there to fend for themselves. No one looked after them, and they had no choice but to move into this settlement. And the other is where leasehold landlords accommodated them on their land, and they have been treated as squatters as well. So there are many issues that remain unresolved. Yes, these are the letters I'm talking about. And I'm referring to contentious issues, Madam Speaker, arising out of the Ministry's decision to issue leases and licenses that are required for work or development to be carried out on state leases. Secondly, no statistics have been provided on the so-called results of the efficiency of the Lands Ministry in terms of improving productivity, improving livelihood, and even improving and boosting agriculture where agriculture leases on state land are concerned. Unfortunately, this regularization process seems to be flawed in both in terms of state land and native land leases. It is not a proper lease that is issued, Madam Speaker, which residents can use to borrow money, or it is not a bankable document. And it's only recently, the Honorable Attorney General had wanted commercial lending institutions to accept approval to lease documents as a bankable document. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this whole issue of regularization squatter land leases is not being done holistically. Madam Speaker, when such leases are issued, how long does the Ministry of Land take to issue proper leases? Does the Ministry act instantly on the lease notices issued by a government? Or does it wait for the residents to fulfill obligations such as proper survey as required of other tenants to process further documentation? These are issues that need clarification, Madam Speaker, because common sense dictates that one arm of government complements the other as swiftly as possible to ensure the objectivity of any policy implementation is achieved in the shortest possible time. Madam Speaker, the Minister has not provided statistics on how many leases on state land are new leases, renewed leases, leases reissued to sitting tenants, or leases issued to new tenants. And what has been the criteria of leases being issued to new tenants in favor of sitting tenants reapplying for leases? We know that productivity of land is a major consideration in the issuance of leases. But, Madam Speaker, in many cases, sitting tenants have been unable to be productive because of circumstances beyond their control, like personal tragedies, illness, or incapacity and inability to ensure the land is productive due to lack of resources. And I know of many tenants who have overcome their challenges only to lose their leases to others because the Ministry decided to ignore their plight and explanation and award new leases to others. There has been no consideration from a humanitarian point of view. I am restricted from naming them, but they know who they are. And I have received major complaints, or many complaints on this issue. One wonders, Madam Speaker, to ensure that such aggrieved tenants are not disenchanted, there has to be an investigation to determine the circumstances in the issuance of leases. This is to ensure that nepotism and cronyism wasn't the criteria used to issue leases to new tenants over sitting ones. I am also aware that complaints were made either to Honourable Minister or the Lands Ministry staff, but these have fallen on deaf ears. In one case in Reki, the Ministry decided to award the lease to one brother after his other sibling died, despite the family residing on the land for over 2 generations. This has caused a family dispute with the leaseholder now threatening to evict his brother's widow and family from the land. The family claims that no investigation or survey of the land was done by the Ministry before deciding on the issue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.